Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ray, and we are here to start Interview with the Vampire Season 3, aka The Vampire Lestat Season 1, Episode 1, Detroit. So, uh, if you have been watching my channel, you will know that I am going right out of editing down my interview with the Vampire Season 1 and Season 2 reactions, as well as the trailer for the Vampire Lestat. I did a trailer reaction and I did a scene release, clip release, whatever reaction. Um, and I've been editing them and putting them up on YouTube in preparation for this season. But if you've been watching the reactions, you'll know that it's actually been a while since I filmed season 1 and season 2. Now, I have actually rewatched the show multiple times since then because right now I'm hyper focusing on it. Which is why y'all just got like 2 months straight on YouTube of Interview with a Vampire, and that's all I've been releasing on YouTube because I've been hyper focusing on it, okay? I have loved the show. It has like scratched some itch in me for like the last like 5 months. So longer than that actually, because I filmed these across last year, basically. I did like the first episode a while ago. Like actually, like I think in 2024, I think I filmed that first episode. And then some stuff happened and I had to stop filming it. And then when I came back to it, I was like, let me circle back around to Interview with the Vampire, because I knew the new season was coming up. And this was, the first episode was like in 2024 when I filmed it. And then I filmed all the rest in 2025, like, summer, early fall of 2025, something like that. No, it wasn't summer. It was late fall into winter. Yeah. And I essentially binged the rest of it. So I watched the first one almost on its own, and which, worked because that episode feels very much like a short story, like a really complete kind of story. The pilot episode. So it worked out well for me in that sense. It didn't work out well for me in the sense that I was immediately spoiled about Reid being Armand in between when I filmed episode 1 and everything else. So I was unspoiled in episode 1 and then I was immediately spoiled for the rest of it. And I was like, you know what? But to be fair, that spoiler is what made me go, you know what? I need to circle back around the Interview with the Vampire. I might have left it on hiatus for a long time. This is not because the first episode was bad or anything like that, but sometimes my mind is like that. Sometimes it takes me a while to get around to things, and then I get around to it, and it's the best thing I ever experienced. So that's kind of where I am with the show. But that said, season 1 and season 2 were all completed roughly about 6-7 months ago that I filmed it all. And then I started putting it up on Patreon, and then I started editing down for YouTube. So while I've been living in the Interview with the Vampire world, and I've rewatched the episodes, both seasons multiple times, and I've even started on Mayfair Witches, that one's taken a long time for me to get through. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I still am like really in the right headspace for the show right now, and I've been hungering for new material for quite a while. So I'm super excited to get into this season. I've been on social media blackout for like 2 days because I was going to just do social media blackout for Sunday. But then I found out that they released the episode early in Australia on Saturday. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I got to go on social media blackout for 2 days, the whole weekend, which means no Twitter, no Reddit, nothing, no Tumblr, nothing, to try and avoid spoilers as much as possible, other than what I've already seen in the trailers, right? So I'm eager to get into it. This is the first episode of a new season. They are kind of marketing it like it's a different show, but like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm treating it like season 3. Sorry. I'm just gonna like there's not a single way that this season is going to be able to stand on its own without the first 2 seasons. Like there's just all the information that we're bringing from that into this. There's no way. So I'm treating it like a 3rd season, even though on my channel I'm going to separate them out into their own show, just so that I can organize it appropriately. And so it makes it easy for you guys to find it. So I'm using on Patreon the Immortal Universe tag for as an extra tag and an extra collection for organization. And then on YouTube, I'm going to do the same thing for the playlist, where I'll put Interview with a Vampire season 1 and season 2 in its own playlist, and then the Vampire Lestat in its own playlist. But then Immortal Universe will have its own playlist where I'll put everything in there, including this show, Interview with a Vampire, Mayfair Witches, Talamasca, once I get around to those, putting those on YouTube. Those will be going up after this. I'm going to be trying to release this in real time, which means as I'm filming this on the weekend, I am going to try and release this on Patreon. I believe I chose Wednesday, the Wednesday slot for that. And then I'm going to try my best to get this up on YouTube the Friday after. Does that make sense? So I'm going to film on Sunday after the episode releases for me on AMC Plus, usually around 3 a.m. where I am. And then I'm going to edit it for Patreon for Wednesday, and then try my best to edit it for Friday. I'm trying really hard not to be a week behind. I know, I think in the trailer reaction, I said I'm going to be like a couple of weeks behind, but I have made the executive decision to make an effort to release this weekly as the episodes air. Now listen, I haven't filmed anything, not this, not anything else, other than the 2 videos that you saw me film for the Vampire Lestat, the big long videos. I actually have not been filming anything else for a while. And there's a couple of reasons for that. It's because work is really stressful for me right now, and I'm super fucking depressed. So it's actually really hard for me to film right now. But I'm excited enough about this show that I'm gonna sit in front of a camera. I have plans to film a couple other things today. I'm gonna try, but we'll see how long it takes me to do this, because these discussions run long because I'm super invested in these characters, in this world. So I imagine this recording is gonna go really long. Already this intro was almost 10 minutes long, and we haven't even gotten into the episode. So I've been very wordy. Anyway, with that said, I don't really feel like talking about it anymore. Let's just actually watch episode 1 of The Vampire Lestat. Let's get into it. What? Okay, Raglan and Armand. Armand with an eye patch.
For your compliance with the unorthodox prerequisites of tonight's event. Furthermore, we wish to reiterate
that's Louis without a leg. What is happening?
Individually, as well as to any institutions that you are representing. Port 1863 port wine, the other, with a magnum of blood from the curator himself.
Oh, then they zoom in on them.
Of the complete works of the Vampire Lestat, 11 albums of audio, best described as an omniscient history of the events of the 2025 album and supporting tour, and
omniscient history,
global catastrophes that sprung from said album, as narrated by the vampire.
Pause. Omniscient history. Okay, Lestat, your omniscient history. Okay, God complex. Okay, cataclysmic events after the album and tour, which intrigues Raglan here. He turns around for that. He doesn't care about the 1800s port or the carafe of blood, but he does care about the history of the events. This got to be after Queen of the Damned, right? The cataclysmic events following his album and tour, which is the Queen of the Damned. Akasha waking up and absolutely trying to genocide everybody. Half the population of the earth. Or I don't want to say half, but you know, whatever. The men folk. Other than like a handful she decided could live. So this is after that. How long after? Like, it doesn't look like everybody's wearing like crazy futuristic stuff, but those events now in the show timeline took place in 2025, which means it could be anywhere. It could be 2026. We're in 2026 right now. This could be a year after. But it feels like the way they're talking about it makes it feel like it's longer than a year after. Like maybe like closer to 5 or 10 years. Not so crazy in the future that there's like, you know, flying cars and shit. But like, you know, enough in the future that it feels like they're talking about, oh man, remember this crazy time in our history as a as a nation? You know? Okay. Let's keep going.
Lestat himself.
All of it.
Opening this show with a Luman scene is kind of funny. I love that though, because I like Luman, so I think their dynamic is infinitely interesting.
Extinction of the Y chromosome across the continents was all my fault. Now that would suggest a level of self-importance even I'm not comfortable with. But upon reflection,
chill out.
Made a contribution. It was the spring of 2025.
Okay.
A good nation was making itself great again.
Yeah, so this is definitely after Akasha tried to eradicate the Y chromosome population.
And those enduring.
What does she do about like non-binary people that have Y chromosomes or like intersex people? She killing them too? Damn. What about the genderqueers, Akasha? Like, what? I've decided not to listen to any of that music until the end of the season because I want to see how they're used in the show first, and then I'll probably do like an album first listen or something.
My pretty baby. Ready resting on the Alps of adequacy. Unacceptable.
So they're not up to snuff, according to Lestat. Damn. All right.
I do sign the checks.
Sign this.
The tambourine tomorrow is rehearsed and perfected. Alexander gets a vodka bottle. And yes, it's a vodka bottle.
All right. Guy who has to tell us how big his dick is, which probably means it's not as big as he's saying.
A bootless Aaron Humber,
okay.
First-time director. I've seen a rough cut.
How many drinks have you?
Now you'd think a 54-city rock tour would be.
No, why they got Sam Reid out here?
And the Albanian gangsters Christine hired to
doppelganger.
Found him working construction.
Okay, from the Czech Republic. Okay.
3 inches shorter than your velvet mouth. Humanity moved on from vampires, and rather quickly. Congratulations.
Except for a handful, like this guy who's a true believer.
They lifted their heads from their algorithmic handmasters, uttered a collective and swiped left.
What is this?
Am the
What is?
Vampire Lestat.
Lestat trying to be cool with modern language. Hilarious.
Gods are not swiped.
The Contessa.
The useful idiot.
All right.
Great show.
You left left before we started.
Yeah, I figured Spotify some T-Rex and drag a little old egg from Dr. Farid.
All right, Dr. Reid.
I am not here.
Sure.
TC punched the boom again.
Not Lestat getting Daniel and Dr. Reid in the Luman divorce.
So, you and Louis talking
texting.
again?
Saw a video of your show last night and
or my telepathy.
helped my insomnia.
I hear he's back
Moi,
in the States.
toi, moi. You and me, right?
We good?
We're good. It's late.
Toi and moi. Who's this?
Okay.
We talking to
You've
Louis?
been alive and undead for 265 years. You witnessed the friend.
Let me to repeat myself soon enough. I am sure once you confront your transformational trauma.
I don't have transformational trauma.
That's why
I don't
these
believe
movie
that.
producers hired you.
I don't have transformational trauma, baby. You were transformed by Armand. You have some kind of trauma for that. And then he immediately left. So you've got something. Abandonment trauma or transformational trauma or both. Okay. Do I still think I'm back and forth on whether or not I definitely don't think it was spite like Louis thinks in terms of why Armand changed Daniel. I've had time to think about it. I've rewatched it multiple times. Obviously I'm very DM-pilled. So I don't quite think it's spite, but I don't think it's going to be the same reason as it was in the book in the same way. So I'm curious to see what they do with it. I have a couple of ideas what I think they could do with it to make it really pop in terms of the DM relationship. But I guess I could talk about it later. I don't know. But I'm curious to see how to do it because already they've established that definitely Daniel has transformational trauma. Anytime somebody goes, confront your transformational trauma, he goes, I don't have transformational trauma. You got transformational trauma, sir. All right, let me go back.
Transformational trauma.
I don't have transformational trauma.
That's why
My
these
first
movie
time
producers hired
recording
you,
on
Daniel,
AMC
boy,
Plus.
Vampire Slayer.
They said you requested me.
Absurd.
As
All right,
absurd as a
Buffy.
documentary
Buffy
about a rock
Malloy.
band posing as vampires, fronted by an actual vampire.
Directed by a
Where are we
vampire
tonight?
passing as a human.
Rome, Wisconsin. Hey.
Is it true you were a stutterer as a child? Louis said
Reference
you
to
were.
season 1? Oh, did he? Oh, he not happy about that?
Was he there in 18th century Auvergne?
He said you told him
Did
that.
I threaten Claudia with rape on a train? Was I in the room when Donizetti wrote Don Pasquale? No, and impossible because I had buried myself underground for the vast majority of the 1800s.
I wrote what he told me. I don't have trauma. I love being a vampire. And can you drop the fledgling speak and spell?
And they mentioned the Rome, Wisconsin, which is a reference to, or a place that they mentioned in season 1. When he was debating on where to go on a vacation with Louis. And then they ended up going to the theater and Louis had to endure racism there. Ugh. What a terrible fucking date idea, Lestat. Jesus. Let me take you somewhere where you're going to be treated as less than. Good Lord. But it's for me, actually, because actually you don't even really like the opera. Like, I want to cheer you up with a date that's planned for me, actually. That suits my taste. I'm cheering you up, though. Anyway. Okay, so a lot just happened there. Obviously, I'm not going to belabor it. Baby, you got transformational trauma. We're going to dig into it this season, I'm sure. But he said something interesting. I kind of want to go back a little. That I thought was super interesting.
Was I in the room when Donizetti wrote Don Pasquale?
And that's...
No.
Yeah, no, and impossible. It's very... 2 truths and a lie, and you got to figure out which one is the lie. But again, we just mentioned Rome, Wisconsin, and then he took him to the play where he then killed that guy. And of course, that's in his mind because probably he was just typing it. So that's why he mentions it here. But I feel like they have been doing a thing with the promotional material that we've seen so far, like the trailers and whatnot, and like going, oh no, this is Lestat going to set the record straight, and he's reading the book and he's mad because he feels like he's been misrepresented in the book. That's a thing I feel like we've been doing with all of the promo material that we've seen so far. And I think it's interesting that we have this because obviously he just said, no, impossible, right? But there's a couple of things that I noticed. One, obviously, he definitely was a stutterer as a child because that was the thing that bothered him the most out of what Daniel just said, right? Which means he's lying here. Which means that any of these things could be true and he's lying about it to cover up the fact that he definitely, like what Louis had in the book and subsequently what Claudia had in her diaries probably is a little bit true. And the things that he's pointed out are the thing that a vulnerability that he clearly told to Louis, but Daniel's bringing up here, which is the stuttering as a child. Then he brings up the Claudia train scene, which was in that trailer that I reacted to way back, where that was the thing that he was upset about, and like Daniel was like, yeah, he didn't like the thing about him and Claudia on the train, right? They keep going back to that. I feel like the show and the promotional material keeps going back to, no, the train scene didn't happen. And maybe it's because of the fandom too. I feel like the fandom has clung on to that as, no, that's an instance of Claudia lying in her diary, which we know happens. She sometimes either lies or misrepresents something. They showed that in season 2 with the opening where Louis was like, oh, she doesn't dream. She says it in her diary. She writes it there, so let's believe it's true, right? And then, of course, you find out immediately that Louis believes that she does dream and that it was just something that she said and just something that she put in her diary, but it wasn't true. But maybe she was trying to hide it or cover it up because, you know, it's emotionally difficult for her because, of course, that was her after her assault in season 1. So maybe her dreams are so horrible that she doesn't want to put him in her diary anymore after the first time she wrote about him, right? Or maybe she's telling the truth and she doesn't dream, but she's like one of those people that doesn't really have dreams but still has movements. Or maybe she just doesn't remember her dreams. So Louis thinks that she's lying about dreaming, but actually, it just occurred to me, but actually she doesn't remember her dreams. And so therefore, when she writes in her diary and she says, I don't dream, it's because she simply doesn't remember them, even though she's probably having them. Like, there's a variety of ways that you can take that. And obviously, we're never going to know the truth because Claudia's not alive and we're not going to have her be alive to tell her accounting. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. But anyway, what I was bringing up is that I feel like the show and the promotional material and the fandom have been really focusing on that concept that the train scene never happened and that that's actually a lie from out of Claudia's diary. But Lestat just lied. He just lied. He definitely was a stutterer as a child. He might be telling the truth about the Don Pasquale part, but that's also the least personal. He had 2 things that were super personal to him, and one thing that was like completely irrelevant. Like the Don Pasquale thing, completely irrelevant. Doesn't matter. And it's kind of making me think that the first two are definitely true. It feels like two truths and a lie. And you think you got to figure out which one is the lie, but I think it's the one that's the least personal that's true. And the two that's super duper personal that he's lying about. Does that make sense? Like, he's telling the truth that he probably wasn't in Don Pasquale's studio when he was writing that song that he used to taunt that one opera singer. But I think the other two are true, and I think he's just struggling to face it. And I think we're going to learn through, maybe not the course of this episode, but perhaps the course of the season, that these two things that he's struggling with are actually true, and that he's going to have to come to grips with those. That, yes, he was a stutterer as a child, and he's going to have to unpack that, his childhood trauma, obviously, we're going to get into, and that also maybe he inflicted that same trauma on Claudia, and have to confront that.
Are irrelevant. Feels are everything, and the value of human life.
Interesting.
It has never been more arbitrary.
Facts are irrelevant. Feels are everything.
True, your band was formed on Halloween?
Feels are everything. Emotions. Facts are irrelevant.
To the failures.
So objective
Album 2,
truth
side B.
doesn't matter, but subjective truth does. How you feel. All right, this is the scene we watched.
Hurricanes, no witches. Everyone mangles French
no
just
witches.
like you do.
His witch trauma. You gonna get into Lestat's witch trauma this season?
Cheer.
T'as-tu vu sa toile au Louvre? Hey, toutes les boomers faisaient la file pour aller voir.
I feel like last time did I pause this to look at these books? I feel like I did. Retirement plan. I mean, I remember that. Sapphire Storm. Hayden Ashbury. Isn't that one of Daniel's books? His fictional books. Hayden Ashbury, yeah, because they like released passages from it, didn't they? I don't want to say recently. It was a while ago. It was like earlier this year. Didn't they release like a couple of like passages or chapters from some of his books a while ago? I have not read them yet. Although it probably would be a good idea. Maybe I'll do that. Should I film me reading the chapters that they released of Daniel's books? Would y'all be interested in that? Maybe I'll film it. Maybe I'll film it today. Like, why not? If I have time. But I haven't read it yet, so I'm curious. All right, go.
Harlequin.
Laleo, not Harlequin. Okay. Not watching his masterclass. did Lestat sign up for Daniel's masterclass? Is he part of his Patreon or something? Did he like obsessively watch all of Daniel's masterclass episodes? It's like Daniel has 2 students and it's Lestat and Armand. Taking that as lesbian crumbs.
Complicated.
Hello.
Sorry. Give me a second. What? Are we seeing trick-or-treaters dressed up as Claudia? Claudia, a ghost, and Armand, because that's Armand's look from the penthouse when season 2, episode 5, Best episode of the show. That's his look when he killed that guy and then took his glasses. Why are children dressed as characters from Interview with a Vampire? Well, okay. So it's become a pop culture hit, apparently, enough that there are now people dressing their kids up as the characters from the book. It's that popular. Is that like a kid Louis?
The mounts.
You'll take whatever I give you.
Oh, jeez. He's pissed. He's so upset. That probably triggered him so bad, actually, because he's already pissed about the book. And then he's seeing this, and now he's already, even before finding out all this, he was already a bit, kind of hated the sound that he was hearing from the band across the way. He's already annoyed with him when he was talking to Louis, so now. Just gonna shred with them for a bit.
5 bars. You're hurting her.
Is that our neighbor?
Squire, my man Arturo will come in the morning with a replacement.
Arturo.
And a new front
It's not a name I know. But I don't remember a lot of names from these books, so fair enough. Oh, is that the fledgling guy? Did he keep him?
What was the question again?
Why music?
Hey!
Why now?
Dude, that was sick.
Was this a rolling blackout? Okay. Dracula's daughter. Vampons. Okay, come to me. Oh wait, let me pause. It's been too long. I need you. I'm struggling. Oh yeah, he just did this mini bar. Vampons. Okay. Stuck in the mud again. Far from. This is Gabby. Stuck in the mud again? Far from the things of man. This is Gabby. She out in the wilderness. Toi and moi. You and me. You and me. You and me. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Because that's how they are to each other, right? Like, you know, he's the man in her and she's the woman in him, etc. Like, that's how they kind of refer to each other. That's Gabby. Oh, this whole time I thought he was I thought he was texting Louis. It's not Louis, it's his mom. Oh my God. Oh my God. I feel like we was seeing him text somebody the whole episode, and it was even in the trailer. So I feel like even in the trailer, I was like, oh, is he texting Louis? No, I think I might have in the trailer thought, oh, I think he's texting somebody from the band or something. Maybe. But it's like a misdirect, and we think he's texting Louis, but it's somebody from the band. But like, no, it's not somebody from the band, and it's not Louis. Instead, it's actually Gabby this whole time. Okay, I need you. I'm struggling. Oh, my space bar worked that time. Oh. He erased the I'm struggling part. Bit too vulnerable. Certainly for Gabby. She would not have taken that well. Alright, we're playing the violin. Do we think this is the violin? Didn't Nikki leave him the Stradivarius? I don't know what a Stradivarius violin looks like, so I don't know if that's what this is, but
No time for my stepbrother till we come.
Sorry. Give me a second. What was that lyric? What? Glowing up, fine. Sorry, what? Did he just say riding my stepbrother? Right after the Gabby text is making me uncomfortable. Oh my god. These lyrics. What are we saying here?
No time for throwing up, no time for blading out.
Morning Star. Devil. TikTok. Eating black licorice. I think I like this song better than the other one, in terms of like the beat and production. Sorry. There was a lot in those lyrics. The stepbrother line took me by surprise. I was like, good lord. Interesting. Morning Star, which is of course the other name for the devil. We know about Lestat's relationship to the devil. If we get that far, if they decide to adapt that, I don't know. Are we gonna suddenly turn into Good Omens? Anne Rice's Good Omens? Is that what's gonna happen? I was gonna say these double entendre lyrics because it caught a live one and it's about probably eating a human. And you know, all the songs so far have had like this kind of vampire double entendres. Oh, and some lines. Okay.
Hi, Poppy.
I've been a bad boy.
Sorry, I wasn't expecting Poppy. Not his Rue serve. Rue Malloy. Oh my god, we just had like that moment in Euphoria season 3 where this woman called Rue Poppy. I'm not doing any reactions to Euphoria just because I watched the first 2 seasons on my own, so I'm not recording the 3rd season. I didn't record the 3rd season when I watched it, but hilarious. Hilarious.
Down in my heart, I kept $1 million secrets from the very start. Give me $1 million more screams.
Yeah, he said earlier he wanted to kill his lead guitarist.
Violin competing with his guitar for the solo break. 2 centuries waiting to share my music. 2 years.
He's so
as Mr.
egotistical.
Dulac's B-movie brute.
So far about this band.
But just as I was about to bridge the bridge with murder and mayhem, something quite surprising.
This alliteration. All right.
My music wrapped itself around me like a jungle snake constricting its prey. And a lifetime of blood bartering overwhelmed
Jungle Snake.
temporarily.
Is that another Gabby
Muses
reference?
appeared in my mind, and in the now around me. Memories taking their turn. Blood in.
Oh yeah, this is like a preview of the season,
Blood
I guess.
out. Hammering away at the performative vampire persona I had welded into armor.
Sorry, I'm gonna be kind of taken aback by the Gabby
armor
stat
crack.
of it all every time. Sorry.
The bridge buckled. Hot lights.
Okay, so he's coming to grips with the
My
fact that he was the
bandmates
one
began
that
to
was
fade.
inadequate, or was just adequate.
And that sound I had been grinding them for was finally
Facing that,
unleashed.
facing his
A
truth about that,
euphoric
has allowed
gravity
him
spilling
to
into
unlock the
crowd,
next level
into their
of
bodies, enveloping the
artistic
venue.
expression. Nice. Like I said, I actually really like this song. It's the best song that I've heard so far. The lyrics were a bit much, but the actual song itself, I like it. Very Théâtre de Vampire of you. crowd eating it up? Is there like a bunch of fronting as a bunch of vampires? Oh, damn.
Which one of you will do?
Hi, Poppy. Never gonna get over that. What?
What did she take?
Not her. Get her on the ground.
Oh, damn. He is tripping. Yeah, she had a ton
I should have quit right there
of
and
fucking
then.
drugs, by the way.
Would have been a
God.
lovely footnote to my life, the band. But the muses were just beginning.
Okay.
You done this to me?
Okay.
I
Like
lost
CGI?
myself on stage for a moment.
Seems you still lost. Don't worry, they coming.
Who's coming?
Oh, they gonna tell you themselves.
Okay.
Who's coming?
This is very A Christmas Carol. Is she the ghost of Christmas future? Like, what's happening?
Album 5, side B.
Don't tell me to pose. Fuck you.
There was a red carpet, a pap line, and a
You
vampire
know-
DJ of some renown, seducing corporate
Vampire
employees,
DJ.
provincial
Is that
influencers,
Sam?
and party crashing.
Terrible. How do I explain this? So far, this episode has felt very 90s. Doesn't it feel like very 90s, late 90s, early 2000s kind of comedy in terms of the directing and everything? Even the voiceover and everything and the way it's going back and forth and back and forth. It feels very 90s. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Beautifully unwell. I was
Immortal
having
properties,
sex in
okay.
an elevator with Dee and the girl I had just overindulged myself with.
Are we watching Lestat have sex with
That
baby
happens.
Jinx?
Later.
Can we not? Like, that's... So they aged baby Jinx up so that she can have sex with Lestat? I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I made my peace with them aging Claudia up so that they could explore her sexuality as well. But twice is kind of a pattern. Okay.
A lot of things happened that night.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The band is inside.
Yeah, this
Dan,
feels very
the VIP
90s.
perch.
Not Dan. Dan in
I'm
the
giving
VIP.
paps, my pussy. God. Surfing the sublime candy
Oh
flipped
yeah, he's
wave of the
tripping
girl's blood.
fucking balls right now.
The girl is feeling good. Riding the wonders of Dr. Farid's blood transfusion quick pick-me-up cocktail. Way above my shoulders. And just for the record, no ticket pocket of mine ever had his initials inscribed onto them. I mean, these are the editorial wags of an insane person. Note to self, edit that out in the final version.
Yeah, I bet. Louis would not appreciate that. Oh, interesting though, because if we're hearing this, then that means that the person who bought the album in the very beginning auction is hearing this, so he forgot to edit it out in the final version. Interesting. So if it's Louis who got the final bid, then he's hearing that anyway. Anyway, interesting. So we had sorry, let me go back a little. Yeah, we had the discussion of, hey, what is or is not true from Louis' recounting of their life in New Orleans.
Way above my shoulders. And
The
just for
stuff
the
that
record,
was
no
incorrect,
ticket pocket of mine ever
according
had
to
his
Lestat.
initials inscribed.
This one is interesting because I remember, you remember in my reaction, I had paused it and I was wondering, like, because, you know, I recently edited this, so I remember this. I'd paused it and I was like, is this real or is this just what Louis wants Lestat to say? Wishes Lestat had said to him or would say to him. And what this is telling us, at least so far, is that Lestat never did this, and that in fact this was just something that Louis imagined or created as part of his, grief and feelings of guilt. Like Dreamstat is essentially the manifestation of Louis's feelings of guilt over the betrayal, over trying to kill Lestat, over, at least in his mind, cheating on Lestat with Armand, because of course he never really felt like he genuinely ever stopped loving Lestat, so having any kind of romantic relationship outside of Lestat would feel like cheating. Just like his death, seeming death, even though it wasn't death, is the only one that felt like murder. Interesting. Because again, I think the line that has stood out to me the most so far in this episode was that concept earlier of facts are irrelevant and feels not important. Feels are everything. That's what he said. So it doesn't matter if this is true or not true. It matters that Louis felt that it was true. Okay.
Name's Tim. She's Russ.
There.
All right.
Russ.
Okay.
Pronouns. And yet it's respectful, like silence at a urinal.
Yeah, right? Like,
He's got a bit cross.
2025, sir.
Reminding each other the other night. Russ here has a hot mouth.
Also, don't you know Russ? Y'all came in together.
I admire your aim.
Long face sucks.
Russ wanted to apologize.
But black licorice, why do I have to feel?
Okay, yeah. I thought Black Licorice was the better song, too.
Frankly, Mr. Shankly almost ruined the Queen's death. I apology accepted.
He is too high to be having this conversation.
Do you?
Yeah.
The Fang Gang.
You want to see a real vampire bar? Come with us. We have a huge house out past Bragmore.
Our own farm under the floorboards.
Pause. Give me a motherfucking second. Because what did I just hear? Okay, so these guys are the Fang Gang, which of course we know is the gang that Bruce formed after he took on the persona of killer from his conversation with Claudia. Damn. And now we're learning that he's keeping people on the floorboards, which is an extension of what he did to Claudia again. Like, this man has let his whole life be defined by his encounter with Claudia, his obsession with Claudia, this gross ass fucking vampire. I can't wait for them to kill his ass. Like, oh my God. So, okay. So I talked about in my long spoiler discussion, and I'm going to be talking about the books freely, I think, in this one. I'm sorry, you guys. If you want book-free discussion, I don't think I'm the reaction for you guys. But anyway, I talked about in my long spoiler reaction about that Bruce was a character named Killer. I think they're merging those characters into one. And Killer, I remember, was from the books, and he was from Queen of the Damned, as was Baby Jinx, who I mentioned earlier. It was clear that she was Baby Jinx from the trailer. But her story is really sad. She has a chapter in Queen of the Damned. Really sad, really upsetting story. And she's like really young in that, which is why I was like taken aback by her and Lestat having sex. Ugh. Like, she was definitely a 14-year-old girl in the books. Like 14, 15, something like that. Claudia's age in the show. That's her age in the books. So there's definite, like, and she was very much a parallel. And clearly in the show, they are leaning into the parallel between Baby Jinx and Claudia. So it's kind of lending into my discussion also in the long video. I didn't discuss it on camera. I think it kind of started to occur to me after, and so I put it in my notes as I was talking on screen. Sometimes stuff occurs to me while I'm editing, so I'll just put it in while I'm editing. But the way that the show is handling the cycle of abuse of grooming and incest, where instead of it being this like really overt thing happening in between Lestat, Louis, and Claudia, it became more about emotional enmeshment. But I think for Lestat in season 1, it was a little it was like that kind of thing where it's like what do they call it, covert incest, where it's kind of, it's not full on like Lestat was having sex with his daughter, but more like there's an erosion of boundaries, right, between them. There was definitely a weird vibe, weird energy, weird erosion of boundaries that happened when he took Claudia out to Lover's Lane. Very weird vibes. Rewatch the scenes. Very weird vibes. And then right after that, she has her like sexual awakening after seeing two people have sex in the car, and then killing them. Very psychosexual situation there. But then now here we are in this season, and we have the baby Jinx Lestat having sex, even though baby Jinx is very much a parallel or a mirror or a foil for Claudia. So, oof, weirdness. And then it's even more, she's even more of a parallel because they decided to write the entire scene of Killer and Claudia purely for the show. That was not in the books, but they created even more of a parallel between Claudia and baby Jinx by having both Claudia and baby Jinx be victims of the same predator, Bruce/Killer. So they're drawing the parallels even stronger between them. So to then have Lestat have sex with her is weird. But it makes sense thematically. Like, it's weird in the way that I feel about it. It's uncomfortable, which is the point. Sometimes gothic horror is meant to make you uncomfortable. It's the way it is. But I think it's an interesting, I don't want to say interesting, but it's certainly a choice in how to adapt some of the psychosexual, incestuous vibe of Royale from the books and apply it to the show in a different way. And then we're also, during this entire scene, getting texts between Lestat and his mom. So we're drawing even more the parallels of the, incestuous, psychosexual, groomy vibe between his mom and him, and then how he then potentially perpetuated that in his relationship with Claudia, which brings us back to the earlier conversation we were having about, is it true, whether or not it's true he threatened Claudia with rape, or even just mentioned her rape in a weird, uncomfortable way on the train, and whether or not that's true. And actually this scene is now, like, talking through this scene and this discussion is actually making me even more sure that he definitely did that on the train. And maybe it's a situation where he thought it was a normal conversation, but it made Claudia extremely uncomfortable, and it made her feel, because remember, feels are everything. It made her feel threatened, and it made her feel uncomfortable, and it made her feel gross, and she conveyed that in her diary. And if you create an environment for your children that makes them feel weird and gross about in a conversation talking with you, that's abuse. That's still violence, right? Like, that's still weird, covert incest, especially when it's sexual like this. Like, it's weird. I need you guys to rewatch the first 2 seasons because it's very weird energy when you rewatch. And like I said, I've rewatched the first 2 seasons a few times now. And like, you know, the first time you get the first impression, and then the second time you maybe hone in on certain things, and then the third time you really start sitting with it. And I'm telling you, man, rewatch those seasons because there's some very weird energy happening in Rue Royale sometimes. Anyway, let's keep going.
About tomorrow night. Nay, them too. Obligations, I'm afraid. But please do send my most sincere bonjour to your bright Moorish girl.
What? This effect. He is tripping balls, y'all. Tripping absolute motherfucking balls. Good Lord.
Bounce, 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 twirl, twirl.
Oh,
overshare.
not flashbacks to the night that they poisoned him. Oh, he saw your soul or whatever.
Feeling good.
He is spiraling so bad. Like he's trying really hard to distract himself.
About in my song, Long Face.
Trying really hard to distract himself from his pain.
Regionals.
And his guilt.
Wait, did you say that Long Face sucked?
Long Face sucks.
Does it suck? I wondered. Did you have a point?
Well,
and then
not
I thought,
misgender them.
One little scrap with the scalp.
We had a whole conversation earlier about pronouns in which you were supposedly like on the side of, yes, it's polite to use people's proper pronouns, and then immediately you're misgendering them? Like, what? Performative, I guess. Is that a commentary from the show, or is it? I don't know. I guess we'll see. All right.
No worries. I thought I had the Queen's blood in me. I could take 20 regionals at once with the Queen's blood.
Where's the band? They called corporate bullshit. Went to party.
There's the petit coup, the little drink, the sip. And after those 3, it's sex.
Well, that's very much like the books.
The fourth best thing a vampire can do.
They don't really care about sex at all. I don't really have that kind of sex drive in that way.
Sex. And I have had a lot of sex over
They actually care about blood and drinking blood more. Actually, more like drinking vampire blood is like the best you've ever had, etc., etc. And now we're hitting some kind of sex montage. Okay.
It's not all pain and toxicity. I haven't like the fun I sing about in Long Face, which, looking back on it now, does suck. I still have residuals coming in, actually.
Well, at least you're able to acknowledge it.
To a vampire survivor.
Okay. Joined by some
if
random
only to
guy.
keep time's baggage from burying you. Sex with the bellman and D and honey trapping baby Jenks. Probably
Killer's tattoo on her neck. Oh goodness. This guy's so fucking gross. I can't wait for us to kill his ass.
I'm getting married in a week. I'll never forget you.
Oh, probably to Bruce.
Law 4. No vampire shall ever reveal his or her true nature to a mortal.
Brother.
And let the mortal live.
You do
oh, honey trap him.
2025.
She honey trapped him. Okay, got it.
Face the wall, my dear. You'll not want to see this. The team.
The Fang Gang.
Both of them are corny, so just take your licks,
I killed a
sir.
pack of wolves when I was immortal. I'll most likely tell you about that later as I let it define me for a time. And normally, confining architecture and a thrift store coven galvanized by medieval dogma wouldn't faze me in the least disadvantage.
I'm in charge of my work-life balance.
Yes, you are, baby girl. Like, you're in charge of your work-life balance.
As if my entire stage show wasn't a bawdy burlesque of is he or isn't he?
Fang Gang.
We are the children of the darkness.
Agreed. Agreed.
Armand told the truth. Did you admit him?
Right? Like, what are we talking about here? Yeah, indeed. What the fuck does that even mean? Do you know? There's a lot in like 10 seconds. Sorry. Where the children of the darkness reborn, maybe. Corny.
It was an after party on the asshole floor.
Also corny.
The reinforcements. Dan.
A lot of cheese happening in a short amount of time.
Looking back on it now, anything I had done to deserve their timely rescue hadn't happened yet. I'd be dead, I think, without Dan. But then maybe
dead
more of the
without
world
Dan,
would still be alive had Dan not rallied his army downstairs.
Yeah, because we always got to remember this is after Queen of the Dam.
As you decant my blood and devour my
Sorry, was that a sliding doors reference? Was that a sliding doors reference? So, you know, the sliding door of Dan is, do I save Lestat in the hotel, in Dracula's Daughter Hotel, or do I let him die? So depending on which way you go, you might have a different outcome. Just like Sliding Doors, where your girl, I don't know her name. That movie, it was good, but it was a long time ago that I watched it. So who was in that? Gwyneth Paltrow, right? And like, she gets on a train and then it's like, and then you see two different stories of whether or not she gets on the train or something like that, right?
Dan, it's hard hiding you're a god.
You're for real?
CCTV.
More of a god complex? Jesus.
IMF freezing your accounts because you have the blood of a patricidal queen inside you.
Hello again.
Sorry, the IMF froze his accounts because they know about Akasha?
The masker dragged me into that.
And once you reveal yourself,
right,
you have to
Sam.
be on all the time.
Not the Gestapo answer. I was just following orders.
Everywhere you go, everyone remembers the thing they said to you in the room that you shared.
Were you a stutterer as a child?
After I saw my first soul.
His first soul, huh?
After I...
Interesting, because Lestat and Armand are known, and David actually, are known for being able to see spirits, even though it's not always a vampire ability in the books. Lestat and Armand, obviously, because Lestat and Armand are foils, so obviously a lot of their storylines parallel, as always. And they both can see souls. Although Armand can, there's an implication that he could see souls or auras even before he became a vampire. In the Vampire Armand, there's an implication of that, if I remember correctly. Like, there's an implication that Armand was... There's a lot of implications with Armand, that prior to being a vampire, there was something else mystical happening with him. But it might just be affectation after the fact. Who knows? I do want to read this, but it's a little blurry. Please, maybe? Because it looks similar to that, and these are please. So please, I know it's been a long time. Expectations from Gabby. None, nothing. Just sit with me, please. Please, I need you. Please find me. Damn, he is having a hard time, man. He was trying to keep it cool earlier, but it's just clearly as the night has gone on, he's gotten more and more just frantic and upset. Now he's in Starlight Inn. Oh, this probably is after the fight, and he's really uncomfortable. He just exposed himself to his band. He just had the bad trip with Baby Jinx, who honey trapped him, set him up. So he's feeling really unmoored right now. Starlight Inn, room 14. Just, I'm not feeling well. Oh, I'm not well. I love you. Oof. Forget it. I'm fine. Hell with you. Oof. Yeah, he's having a rough one.
I was nearly decapitated in a boutique hotel hallway. Lift winged me north of the river, south of the country.
Yeah, he's feeling really exposed right now. And vulnerable.
But I was saved from such rational thought. Love will do that to you.
Not as crescendoing to a Gabby stat scene. Lord God. I'm not even religious or Christian, but Lord God. You the only one. If there's one thing that I've seen from the fandom about Gabby's portrayal is not a single person likes her fucking hair. Probably including me, because what is going on? You the only one, sir. His stutter.
Gabriel.
His stutter coming back. Oh, goodness. As soon as he sees his mom. Oh, Lord.
I know it's common gossip now. The first thing one thinks about when my name comes up. I assume a privileged individual such as yourself enjoys a little dirt in their sandwich. Lover.
Or just messy familial sexual relationships, maybe.
Listen to tracks from the Vampire Lestat wherever you stream music.
Oh, man. Okay. That was a fever dream. That was a fever dream of an episode. Oh my god. Well, that makes sense though, because we're now in Lestat's head, and his head is very messy. To be honest, that felt very much like reading a chapter from Lestat, especially like Queen of the Damned era Lestat. That era, it very much felt like that. Very eclectic. We were getting Walmart Lestat. If you know what I'm talking about. We were getting Walmart Lestat there. I think I liked it. I think I liked the episode. It's just very different, right? Like if you've been embedding yourself in Louis' narration up till now, walking into this, very different vibes. And then also he spent the whole episode high off his fucking rocker. So we're hearing like a good portion of this is him just fucked up the whole way through, spiraling, emotionally unstable, struggling. He just had like a whole breakdown. Like he's a fucking mess in this whole episode. So hey, it's gonna feel like a fever dream. I actually, in between me pausing and starting this, I actually wrote down some stuff that I want to talk about. I'm trying to be better about this. I know you guys want me to pause less. I can't quite bring myself to do that 100%. I'm sorry. But I'm going to try. I can't write. If I'm writing notes, like handwriting notes, then I'm going to have to pause. If I am pausing, then, might as well just say what I'm thinking, instead of writing it down. But after the fact, I did want to write at least some bullet points that I want to talk about. So let's start with Lestat. I feel like I said a lot of what I wanted to say about Lestat anyway. The stuff with the band and the idea of he was the one that was holding the band back. And coming to realize that is what allowed him to finally cross into the next level of his music. Is that there was something inadequate in his playing, which, they had the whole conversation with Louis in which he was like, hey, how did that sound? And it was very, he's very obviously, I don't want to say insecure, but very nervous about what Louis would said. And Louis was like, it's nice. It's exactly what he said. He's like exactly what he wanted to convey. It's nice. It's a nice word. It's fine. It's nice. It's not. I don't see Beyonce covering it, but it's nice. Which echoes the whole like it was adequate. It's interesting because in the books, if I remember correctly, in the Vampire Lestat book, we meet Lestat, and when he was younger, he wasn't a musician. He doesn't become a musician until after he dates Nikki, because Nikki was the musician. Nikki was a violinist, a talented violinist, but ultimately, like, some of the breakdown of their relationship happened because after they moved in together in Paris, a lot of Nikki's insecurities started to rear their ugly head and everything like that. And he was struggling too. And he, you know, one thing Lestat going to do is date a depressed man. I don't know what to say. Like, Nikki was struggling too, I feel like. But one of the things that, like, made them struggle was, you know, Nikki was putting on these performances and stuff like that, and Lestat was trying to become an actor and everything, and with the troupe and whatnot. And he was like, he's very naturally charismatic, as you know, as we all know. And there was like resentment building up between him and Nikki because of it, I feel like. But like before that, he wasn't a musician, and then he became a musician after. With Nikki, and he was struggling quite a bit with that. Nikki was struggling quite a bit with that. But like, and then vampirism. I think like vampirism made Lestat even better at music than before, probably because his senses were more sharpened, and so he could hear things better, which is interesting because usually in Anne Rice's novels, artistic expression actually flattens for vampires, and they struggle with artistic expression. I guess that changes depending on the book and depending on what Anne Rice feels at any given time, but like, I have my feelings about that, which is that I think it's kind of bogus. I understand thematically what she was doing with that, but art is art. like, I'm so sorry. Art is art. And no matter what other people think about art, as long as what you are putting into it is what you're feeling, then it's art. Like, does that make sense? Like, I understand thematically and emotionally and philosophically what she was doing with the whole idea that, oh, because they are so detached from humanity, vampires struggle to produce art that moves people, right? On paper, I understand that. Oh, except for Lestat, for whatever. Actually, no. Again, it depends on the era and when she's writing it and how her relationship to, I guess, art or her own philosophy, because at any given time she could say that, and then in the next book she'll be like, no, actually his art was the greatest thing you ever seen. like that's how Anne Rice wrote. She wrote based on vibes. a lot of her shit was based on vibes. So like at any given point she could change her mind and just write something else in the next book. It's completely contradictory. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. But I think the implication, though, in the book was that Lestat became an artist and picked up music after, as a player. Like, obviously he listened to music before that, but like as somebody who produced music, he picks it up after he becomes a vampire. And we're having this conversation about what makes being able to put your all into music and move people. And so obviously for the show, we're not doing the whole like vampires can't produce viable art thing. We're not doing that. Otherwise we wouldn't have that scene of him struggling to create art and then creating something really transcendent that was moving the crowd, getting everybody revved up. His whole band was in, like everything was like really pitch perfect. Also, I just think on a practical level for a TV show, I think it would be extremely difficult to do a season or a series that centers music and not have the music be able to not have the music have at least some songs that are good, you know? Like, it's one thing to have a character struggle with that, But it's another thing to market a show in which music is the center focus and have all of the music be shit. There's no way that you can do that in 2025 in a TV, in our world. There's no way. So you have to, I think you just got to get rid of that whole concept that vampires can't produce art. I think they just have to leave that behind. I think like I said, I think you have to tie it through, like they're doing in this episode. They have to tie it to his emotional state. And actually, I think they're tying it to his relationship to honesty and vulnerability. Because his music becomes better once he acknowledges that he's the problem, right? And once he acknowledges and then once he does that, then his own music starts to affect him, and his band's playing starts to affect him, and he starts to remember the things that he has clearly up till now been repressing and trying to ignore and bury deep down, and they start bubbling up, all of these memories from the past. Interesting. Including, in my opinion, him recontextualizing his relationship with Claudia, and the train scene being the center point, the centerpiece for that conversation of how did he treat Claudia? Did he, him facing the fact that he did indeed wrong her in some way as a mentor, as a maker, as a father. Which, of course, we've been discussing that the entire first 2 seasons, especially the first season, where he talks about, having his maker's temper and his father's temper, both his maker and his father, and their temperament being absolute shit, and how he is perpetuating that cycle in their home in Rue Royale, and has created, unintentionally or not, either way, it doesn't really matter, he created an environment in which Louis and Claudia did not feel safe, to the point where it crescendos into that moment where he outright, he'd been putting his hands on Claudia up until that point anyway, but then he put his hands on Louis as well, and injured him in such a horrific way, and right in front of Claudia, which is also abusive. Like, being a child witnessing your parents in an abusive relationship is also abuse to that child, by the way. So, like, he essentially created an environment in which his father created for him, repeating the cycle. Like, Anne Rice's books are about repeating cycles of abuse. Like, all of these characters are both victims of abuse and abusers. All, especially our mains. All of them are victims of abuse and abusers themselves, and it's always about the cycles of abuse. Like, I don't think there's any character who wasn't a victim of abuse and then perpetuated that cycle onto somebody else. And then because they're vampires, they do it for sometimes decades or centuries. Anyway, so interesting that his music, so we're going to, I think for the TV show, we're going to center the idea of good art, or art with feeling, versus art with no feeling, and we're going to link it to being honest and true to yourself, versus, and therefore being vulnerable, and therefore being able to expose your vulnerability through your art. Rather than it being no, because you're a vampire, you immediately are not able to produce good art. Like, it's not going to be a clear-cut thing like that. It's going to be very personal and emotional for each character, I think. What does that say about season 2 with Louis, though? Because Louis in season 2 was struggling with his art, with photography. But that was also the period of time where he was in denial about his feelings about Lestat and his feelings of betrayal, and he was struggling with that. He wasn't being honest about his feelings during that time period. So it shows in his photography. And he only has like one really good notable piece of photography that they highlighted in that season, and that was the one where he took a picture of Lestat and then caught a glimpse of Armand's true self, who was being vulnerable in that moment. So his best picture in that season ended up being a moment of true vulnerability. So maybe that's where, like, if he could have been more honest about his own feelings during that time period, and had the space to be more open, maybe his photography would have been better. I wonder if we're going to see that in present day, that he has taken back up with photography now that he's in a better space and he's no longer under Armand's power, and not, you know, being held in, constricted in his self-expression. Are we going to see that Louis has actually picked up photography again and is trying again, and that his photography is actually much better now? Interesting. Okay, yeah. This might be a good time to talk about, to switch gears. Sorry, it's almost 2 hours. Oh God, this is gonna end up being like a 2.5 hour video, y'all. Daniel. I feel like Daniel was the biggest secondary character in this one. You know, I was looking forward to the Lestat relationship because there's nothing, they don't have a big relationship in the books because Daniel's not really a huge character after Queen of the Damned. And quite frankly, he's not even in the Vampire Lestat book at all. So, like, we don't even have him there. He gets his name in Queen of the Damned. So we're using this episode 100% confirms to me that we're not getting David. Yeah, there's no point. We're gonna have like what, maybe 6, 7 seasons of the show, 8 if they feel like it. I mean, that's a lot of seasons if you're gonna put 2 years between each season release. Y'all got to start releasing these seasons once a year, y'all. If you want to get the 8 seasons, you're gonna have to do that. I did hear I've heard 6 and I've heard 8 bandied about. And if you're going to get to 8 seasons, you can't do 2 years in between. Like, we're not going to, for the next, it's already been 4 years. We're not going to get 3 seasons. We're not going to wait another like 2 seasons every time. Like, what? No way. You got to do 1 season per, or you got to split it up differently so that we have multiple shows running, and not those goofy spinoffs, but like actual like stuff that we care about from the books. Give me concurrent shows of stuff that we care about in the show from the books, in order to get some of the later stuff. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Yeah, so we're not getting David. We don't have time to build, like, there's no point in that, right? Like, we're gonna have Daniel be the chronicler of the vampires, the one who's collecting all of the stories of the vampires for the first 2 seasons, and then switch to somebody completely different who will be the chronicler from then going forward. And David, no, we're not doing that. So they merged those 2 characters. Economy of storytelling. We merged those 2 characters. We aged Daniel up to be the same age as David. And Daniel, it makes sense as the character to age up and to keep instead of keeping David, because obviously the main vampires of the Vampire Chronicles are Lestat, Louis, and Armand. So it makes sense to bring Armand, and Daniel being one of Armand's love interests from the books, it makes sense to, instead of keeping David, keep Daniel and just give him David characteristics. But what that means for the show is that we now have a brand new character in Daniel that we can now play with and do whatever. He's Play-Doh Daniel. We can do whatever with him. So I was super excited to see the Lestat relationship and see what they're going to build there. because David and Lestat were lovers and friends and confidants, right? So I imagine we're going to get something similar with Danstat, but then also something unique, because David in the book was never that connected to Armand, other than he was the one that helped chronicle his story, Armand's story, in his book. Other than that, like, they don't really, I can't remember them. Well, I've only, read up to the Vampire Armand, so maybe they have more interaction after that, but like, they don't have like a lot of interaction other than a little bit in Memnoch, because both David and Armand were there for Memnoch, for Lestat. So like, other than those two books, I don't remember them having too much of a relationship. So it's interesting to now be merging Daniel and David, which means that Lestat is going to have a very different relationship to Daniel than he did to David, just by dint of Daniel being Armand's one and only fledgling. So he's just going to have a different interaction. It may mean that they're not going to fuck, though. I kind of wanted them to hook up because this is the time period where Lestat and David like start to hook up and everything. Hook up in the sense of, vampire hooking up, where they fall in love, but there's no actual sex. Because as we talked about in this episode, sex is not important to them. All of the other things like killing humans and drinking blood and all that is far more important and sensual or whatever to most vampires. And sex is like way after that. They don't really have a sexual imperative at all. So when I say that they're lovers, I mean that they love each other, usually. If I talk about somebody being lovers in the book, 9 times out of 10, I'm talking about they're in love, but they aren't necessarily having sex. There's only a handful of people where I would say they're lovers, where I mean like they're sexual lovers. That's like Bianca and Armand, who were sexual lovers before Armand became a vampire, for example. Same thing with, there's a couple other people. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Danstat. So I don't think that we're going to get them dating, even though I really want them to hook up once in like some kind of like rocker, drug-fueled, like mistake. Like, when they get like super fucking high together or super drunk or something like that, and they just have a night that they both regret. I kind of want it. I want this diabolical polycule to be as messy as possible. I want Nikki Mon. I actually a little bit want Gabby Mon. I want Lou Mon. I want Les Mon. I want Devil's Minion. I want all of it to be as fucking all of it to be as fucking messy as possible. I think it would be so fucking funny. And Danstat is going to be part of it, because if Daniel's in the in the polycule, then him and Lestat need to hook up at least once, in my opinion, to really sell it. Anyway, so I kind of want it to be as messy as possible, but either way, what we got in this episode was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. They're fun together. I mean, you kind of know that they're going to be fun together just because of how combative Daniel is, and Lestat's whole thing, his whole temperament. It's just going to be fun. But it's interesting because it's a different kind of interview, right? Like with Louis, like there's 3 different main vampires that he's interviewed so far, right? Like with Louis was that whole first 2 seasons was trying to get at the truth, because he was trying to reconcile with his own memories and trying to figure out like how he truly feels about his past, right? So at every step of the way, he was really, really trying, even though he was combative with Daniel, he still was ultimately wanting to find the truth with Daniel. So I feel like they formed a bond in that way. Whereas Armand was trying to obfuscate the truth because he was trying his best to keep the status quo and make sure that Louis has never leaves him, etc. So he was trying to hide the truth the entire time. Whereas with Lestat, I don't know. I feel like he's closer to Armand in that I feel like Louis was somebody who didn't know the truth but wanted to find it. Armand was somebody who did know the truth and didn't want to find it. Whereas Lestat, I feel like he doesn't know the truth and maybe also wants to deny it as well and not find it. He's kind of the opposite of both Armand and Louis in that way. And like, you know, hey, he doesn't fully, I don't want to say he doesn't know the truth, but like he isn't ready to face his truth and he doesn't want to find it. So he's trying his best to avoid the questions from Daniel, and Daniel, for whatever reason, thinks he's going to take this shit to can. All right, sir. Yeah, interesting. So I'm excited to see how we expand on the Dan-Stat relationship. Yeah, I'm super into it. Especially now that we, have... I had wanted them to repurpose this David Lestat Armand conversation and use it for us figuring out that, or Lestat figuring out that Daniel and Armand are maker fledgling. But they didn't. They decided to start the season with Lestat already knowing everything and clearly trying to confront Dan about his transformational trauma, which Daniel is in denial about. We got two vampires completely in denial about their truths, trying to have a conversation with each other both of them trying to circle around how they really feel in their own vulnerability. Hilarious. While also trying to make the other one face their truth. Just a messy interview setup here. But it's very clear that Daniel definitely has transformational trauma. We don't know all of what happened, and I'm sure we'll find out at least some of it this season. I still maintain that I don't think we're going to get like full-on Devil's Minion this season. I think they're saving that for season 4 when we start getting into the Queen of the Damned stuff. I think at most we might get confirmation one way or the other about whether or not there was a past DM, but I don't know. Like, assuming that there is a past DM, that at some point between the interview in the 70s and the interview in 2022, Armand and Daniel had a full-on romantic relationship. Assuming that that's true. At some point, Daniel's memories were erased. We don't know how long that would have been, whether it's the 10 years or whatever, 10, 15 years or something like that from the book, whether it was longer, because it was 50 years in between those two time periods. So it could be anywhere from a decade or even longer. I feel like it can't be that long, because I feel like trying to erase like 40 years of memories would be fucking difficult, if not impossible. But assuming that there was a past DM, I guess the question is, does Daniel now, in present day, have his memories back? I mean, I know we're speculating on something that has not been confirmed at all, but I feel like there's enough hints in the first 2 seasons to really just support that. Like, the only explanation for a lot of things are that there is a past DM of some sort. Maybe not a full-blown relationship or something, but there's something that happened in those 50 years between the first interview and the second interview between Daniel and Armand. And if so, does Daniel now, having been made a vampire, have his memories back? And is that part of his transformational trauma? Or does he not have his memories back, but he still feels weird about Armand, and he doesn't know and understand why Armand turned him, and he obviously immediately got abandoned, or seemingly so. I still think that Armand is probably stalking him right now. And then, he's also with Lestat, and that's, 2 birds with 1 stone. He gets to stalk both of them. he gets to stalk 2 out of 3 of his obsessions. The only one missing is Louis, like, and right now he's giving himself space from Louis because he knows he fucked that shit up. So I can imagine him like saying, "All right, me and Louis, it's not gonna happen right now." So I will refocus on the person who destroyed my life with Louis, which is Daniel. Sorry, I'm becoming Lestat and calling him Dan. Which is Daniel, and then also the guy who destroyed my life back then, seemingly also Lestat, and they're together. So yeah, I think he's stalking them right now. But given that, Daniel thinks that he was abandoned completely, which I mean he was, but he thinks that Armand is nowhere to be found. So that's definitely part of his transformational trauma, is the abandonment of his maker right after. Which, you know, Lestat can probably relate to on a certain level. I mean, it was a very different situation. Because Magnus killed himself. So there's no, you know, coming back from that. Like, so there's no, whereas with Daniel, Armand is still out there. So there's hope for them to repair their relationship. Right. Whereas and then also it's so tough because I think there's actually quite a lot of parallels now that they've built between Daniel and Lestat. Especially because we have seemingly, as far as we know, removed the more romantic side of Devil's Minion, unless we confirm that in the past that they had a whole romantic relationship. Right now, the harrowing way that they were turned is Daniel was turned was very similar to Lestat, that it was an unwilling turning. And it was really violent and scary, right? Which is what happened with Lestat and Magnus. So now, and that makes sense because Magnus and Armand have a lot of parallels in the Vampire Lestat book. So, for Lestat's story, that period of the books. So it makes sense to parallel them here in present day as well in the way that they created a fledgling. But of course it's a little different because Armand doesn't kill himself. And again, there's time and there's eternity for Armand to change and to repair his relationship. Or at least attempt to, as much as he can, given his own particular damage. Armand is in, his psyche is really fucked up, so it's any kind of recovery he can make, it would be a miracle. But he has, again, time. Magnus doesn't have time to try and become a better person, even if he ever would. And he then killed himself, so that's never going to happen. Whereas Armand has eternity. Like, the thing about Anne Rice vampires is that they're immortal. Immortal. And they have time. They have time to change. And some of them take a long time, and sometimes it takes hundreds of years, but they have eternity to change and to become better or to get worse, you know? And the gift of time, Louis talks about it at the end of season 2, having the gift of time. As long as you don't kill yourself or somebody else doesn't kill you, you have all the time in the world to change. And are you able to? And this is the question that each vampire has to kind of go through is, am I capable of change? And if I am I willing to? And I feel like that's the discussion we're having this season with Lestat as well. And Armand, because of course, as always, Armand and Lestat's stories always parallel each other. So always remember that. But it's interesting that we have this conversation with Daniel about his trauma and how much it mirrors Lestat's trauma, especially in the season where we're going to finally dig into his own transformational trauma. So he's like deflecting on the bus there when he's like, oh, confront your transformational trauma. Baby, the call is coming from inside the house. You confront your transformational trauma, sir. Sir? But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see those two parallel journeys between Lestat and Daniel this season as they each try to reckon with their own makers. And Daniel has a bit of a leg up because his maker is alive and is in his life, even if he doesn't know it yet. Armand is in fact in his life and actually does care about him on a certain level, as much as, you know, Armand can, in the way that he can. You know, we all know that Armand is messed up and his form of love is extremely toxic and difficult. But it's there. It's there in a way that it certainly is not there with Magnus. It's an interesting parallel because if we do truly unpack the Armand-Daniel relationship, it's certainly not the same as Magnus in the sense that Armand actually cares. In the books, Armand actually cares about Daniel. Like, he loves Daniel. And he struggled a long time with his relationship with Daniel because he loves Daniel so much that he wants to consume him like he always does with love, but he also is afraid to consume him like he usually does with love, which I think is also how Armand feels about a lot of his relationships, is that he has a tendency to try to consume them and control them and keep them tight, you know? And he struggles with that with his different relationships. And a lot of times he ends up self-sabotaging. But in contrast, Magnus did not give a shit about Lestat. He only gave a shit in as much as he wanted to have some kind of legacy that survived him. And then he immediately kills himself. Not to mention, he didn't really care about Lestat or anything like that. He just fixated on him and then abused him and stalked him and kidnapped him, and like, it's just fucking terrible. But he didn't care about Lestat, you know? Like, so we have this parallel between Magnus and Armand where they both stalked, you know, like Armand stalked Daniel and captured Daniel, but unlike Magnus, Armand actually falls in love with Daniel, like genuinely. And starts to have a genuine relationship with him and becomes vulnerable with Daniel in a way that he isn't with anybody else. Whereas Magnus, no, none of that. Yeah, interesting. I'm curious to see how they're gonna build that in this season. Interesting. So I'm sure that'll go into the next season. Like I said, I always maintain that season 4 is when we're going to get Devil's Minion. I think season 4 is when we're going to get an episode that's probably titled Devil's Minion, and when we actually genuinely get like a focus on Armand's psyche. I think we're going to get that this season, but I think we're going to get like a lot more TVA and Queen of the Damned, Devil's Minion stuff in the next season. I think this season is just all going to be mostly about his relationship with Lestat and his relationship with himself. And then from Dan's side, it's going to be them trying to figure out this maker fledgling thing. So, what else do I want to talk about? Let's talk about that opening. Because I was talking about Queen of the Damned. Let's talk about that fucking opening. What was that? Alright, okay, so clearly that's after the events of Queen of the Damned, when Akasha goes on her rampage, right? Clearly. Louis ain't got a leg. What? What happens? Is he gonna get his leg back? Is he gonna get a new leg? Is he just gonna have a prosthetic? Because of course we know, if you've read the books, you know that vampires can have their limbs cut off and then just reattach them later. And it hurts, but it's fine. We're gonna see that in this season, I'm sure, with Nikki's hand chops. But Are we going to, at some point, when is this happening? I was like, when I was watching it, I was like, obviously it's sometime in the future, but I don't think it's going to be this season. I think that episode feels like it's something that's going to be in season 4. Because it's post Queen of the Damned. So that means that Queen of the Damned, actually, we're not going to get Queen of the Damned until probably season 5. Is that an episode? Is that a scene that we're going to get a repeat of in season 5? Like 4 seasons off from now? 4 years off from now? Sorry, not 4 seasons. 4 years from now, we're going to get season 5. And then we're going to circle back to that scene. So what do we think? Does Akasha attack Louis and Armand and cut off his leg and rip out Armand's eye? They're going to make it a big to-do, I think. So I think we're going to get some... See, there was a whole edge of thought that Anne Rice had to have Armand side with Akasha in like some of the original draft of Queen of the Damned, right? And then, she was working on it, and she instead decided to pivot and have him fall in love with Daniel instead and create this kind of parallel between Armand and Akasha, where Armand and Akasha are actually very similar in a lot of ways in their predatory natures, right? Which Lestat notices when he's with Akasha. He notices that there's some things that are very similar between Akasha and Armand. He talks about Armand all the time throughout these books, you guys. If there's one thing that's on Lestat's mind in these books, is Armand. He occupies this man's thoughts at all points in every book. My God. Anyway, but one of the things he noted was how similar Akasha and Armand are to each other, which creates in the book, in Queen of the Damned, this really interesting, again, foil parallel between Akasha and Armand. But instead of going with Armand joins Akasha, Anne Rice instead decides to pivot Armand and instead create this connection with Daniel, and therefore prove that Akasha's ideology is flawed. Like, that's kind of the function that Armand has in Queen of the Damned, is that Armand is capable of change, which is something that I talked about earlier about this season, is that where Magnus was not capable of change, Armand is. Armand, through his connection to Daniel, is allowed to become vulnerable in a way that he wasn't before. And that happens in Queen of the Damned, and it's also the thing that kind of proves how incorrect Akasha is, because she doesn't allow people to have time. But also, like, Akasha's a megalomaniac, so it's like now the question is, was Akasha capable of change? And I guess the discussion around it is that maybe if we had eternity, but the problem is that she was too dangerous for us to give her eternity to change. And she, quite frankly, had 5,000 years, something like that. How old is Akasha? Like, long, fucking old. Thousands of years to change, and she did not. She was even sleeping for most of it and just body hopping and shit like that. Like, so she had opportunity to learn over the centuries and change, and she refused to do that. She just remained her same megalomaniac self. But it's a counterpoint to Armand, who in this kind of, in the middle of this journey of Queen of the Damned, where we have all these different vignettes of different characters and vampires and whatnot telling their stories. We have this story from Daniel's POV, but it's really about Armand, if we're being honest. Like, it's not really about Daniel. Daniel is kind of like an extension of Armand in the book. He was purpose-built to give us, the audience, a window into and an opportunity to see Armand in a different light. Whereas the prior 2 books, he'd been building up in a certain way. Queen of the Damned is where we get the turn for Armand, and we get more of an insight into who he is, who he could be, the glimpses of who he could be if given time. But that's what vampirism does. It gives you time. It's the gift of time. We as humans don't have that, right? Like, we as humans have only 100 years so on this planet to be who we are, figure out who we are, and change or cement ourselves, whatever. We have a limited amount of time. But when you're a vampire, you have an infinite amount of time, potentially, unless you get killed, of course, to discover who you are, become who you are, change. Something happens, you change. Maybe you become worse, maybe you become better. Either way, and then you got to rediscover yourself again and become who you are. But either way, it's like you have the opportunity for constant change. But because of your very nature as a vampire, you're frozen. So maybe it's the push and pull between, you have the time, you've been given eternal time to be able to change and improve yourself, but you also have been frozen. And so are you even capable of change? Because your whole body, your whole psyche, everything that you are, frozen at whatever you were when you died. These are the questions that you have with Anne Rice. But I personally think that her ultimate conclusion is that we are able to change, actually. That these characters, these vampires, think that they're not able to change, and they're repeating cycles and they're repeating cycles. But you do have vampires who break those cycles. And usually in the book, Lestat will be the catalyst for breaking some kind of cycle, right? And for Armand and Daniel in Queen of the Damned, that's the purpose that serves. So I say all this to circle back around to the beginning of the episode. We have Armand and Louis bidding on Lestat's records and his story. Somebody won because this episode we're hearing narration from his recordings. So somebody won that bidding. We don't know who, whether it was the Louis, Armand, or the Talamasca. Somebody won him. And I guess we'll find out in season 5-ish. I imagine. Because 4 is not going to be Queen of the Damned. It's going to be lead up to Queen of the Damned. So if this is after Queen of the Damned, well, I guess we could still get flash forwards, right? Like, even though the events of that scene are happening after Queen of the Damned, we still could get going back to that time period throughout the next season and a half or 2 seasons. So, you know what? Fair enough. So we still could see more of the auction period of time. They could tease us with more. But we'll see. Are we going to get Armand getting his eye back? I know we can get... Well, I guess it depends. They could replace the limbs with somebody else's limbs. Because that's what you had to do, right? Like, the limbs stay gone until you reattach your original limb, or you find somebody else's limb and attach it, like in a transplant. You can either use a human or a vampire. If you use a human, then the limb will decay over time or age. So it's better to use another vampire's limb or whatever to replace it. Or if you can't find your original limb, or if your original limb was destroyed, that kind of thing. So certainly both Armand and Armand and Louis could restore their missing appendages and organs or whatever. But what happened? So was it the battle? You know what? I was thinking, well, first of all, I was thinking Pirate Man. Are we ever going to see Armand being a pirate in the fucking show? I don't think we are. I think we have to wait for like a spinoff and then we can dive into Pirate Armand. But whatever. But jokes aside, I was thinking, because the only people that I feel like we ever saw that had their eyes plucked out what's it, Makare? Is it Maharet or Makare? I think it's Makare had her eyes plucked out. Makare, yeah. And she was like replacing her eyes with human eyes and human eyes and human eyes. And the other time was Lestat in Memnoch. Lestat in Memnoch had his eye plucked out by Memnoch, the devil. And like there was like a whole thing, and like he came back to David and Armand, and his eye was fucking gone, and he just had this whole religious journey into heaven and then to hell. Memnoch took him to heaven and to hell and to meet God and Jesus, and he drank Jesus' blood, and he got the veil of Veronica and everything like that. And then Armand goes through this really intense religious psychosis because he's extremely religious. He's a very religious character, which the show hasn't touched on much. They've hinted at it a couple times, but we haven't really dug deep into Armand's relationship to religion. I'm hoping that we start to cover that in this season, actually. But the reason I mention it is that at the end of Memnoch, Lestat comes back from hell, and his eye is fucking gone because the devil took it. And then he has like this, he explains everything that just fucking happened to David and Armand, and I think somebody else was there too. But anyway, David and Armand for sure were there. And then that sets Armand off, and he tries to kill himself, and which leads us into the Vampire Armand book. But he doesn't have an eye for that. And then he gets the eye back later because Memnoch mails it to him, right? What a weird fucking sentence. That was a weird book. What a weird book that was. That was the book where I kind of like, kind of started to tap out from Anne Rice. And then I read The Vampire Armand, which was a good book, but it was so harrowing. It was so, and I wasn't really feeling it, and I wasn't in the right headspace, and I was also probably too young to be reading this. I think it was in like, I don't know, middle school when I first read The Vampire Armand. I was probably Armand's age in that book when I was reading that, which was probably inappropriate. But he gets his eye plucked out, and then he gets the eye back. So now I'm wondering if we think it's going to be about Akasha plucking his eye out, but maybe they are redoing some parts of Memnoch. Maybe not the whole going to heaven and hell or whatever, but maybe they're taking some aspects of Memnoch and applying it into the show. But that means that they're not giving that to Lestat. They're giving that to Armand. But then again, if you're going to give the Memnoch storyline to any other character other than Lestat, then you're going to give it to fucking Armand. Like, that's the natural place that you would give that storyline. The Memnoch religious psychosis, religious journey storyline, you would give that to Armand. But what would be the circumstances around it? Like I said, I don't think we're gonna get a Good Omens season where we actually explore theology in the Anne Rice world, where we actually get confirmation of heaven and hell and demons and Christ and, you know, God and the devil. I don't think we're going to do a season like that. So how do you then, you would have to frame it as part of Armand's religious psychosis, right? If we're giving it to Armand, because in the books they were very opposite. Like, again, they're paralleled, but sometimes they're opposite. They have opposite feelings about certain things, Lestat and Armand. And this is one of the things, is that Armand is aggressively anti-God and anti-Jesus. They've talked about it in the show that he's very against religion. He's against the idea of God. He actually hates God. He hates God completely. He doesn't believe in God in the sense that he actually hates God. So there's part of him that does actually believe in it a little bit, but he hates God for feeling abandoned, right? Because of what happened when he was a kid with his parents, which we're going to dig into this season. But Armand is almost the opposite. They have a very similar origin, right? Lestat and Armand, because they're parallels, they are perfect mirrors of each other. But their experiences cause them to react differently or believe differently in the same thing, you know, in the same things that they experience. So Armand's relationship to religion is very much he craves and needs structure, which religion provides him. And when he goes through really traumatic things, he actually ends up clinging more to religion. But he also feels abandoned by God himself. Actually, it's more like he feels unworthy of God, because Armand, when he was a child, was a divine painter. And so, like, he was told over and over and over again that his talent in painting wasn't because of him, it was because of God working through him. So his relationship to his art is tied heavily to his relationship to religion and his belief system when he's a child. And then after he's sex trafficked, he loses his connection to art, and loses his connection to God, which I guess could be a commentary on him feeling tainted or really unfortunate. But I mean, sometimes you feel how you feel, but like Armand may be feeling tainted or unworthy or corrupted in some way by his child sexual assault. And so that trauma is why he is not able to paint anymore. And then Marius picks him up because he used to be an artist and tries to make him paint again, but Armand can't. He can't. His trauma is very much tied to his religion, and he feels like he has disappointed God, or that God has turned his back on him, but it's because he is somehow at fault for it. Does that make sense? Like, that's how I feel like Armand felt in the Vampire Armand book, about his relationship to art as a painter. And so it's feeling abandoned by God, but in two completely different ways. You see what I'm saying? Like, I love Lesman, you guys, because they're so interesting as parallels when you like sit there and you think about their relationship. Like Lestat starting his life as a child and running to the church as a way to escape his abusive home, and living with the monks and trying to become a monk. Whereas you have Armand, who was genuinely interested in being a living saint and becoming a living saint because he had a genuine interest in religion, not just as a way to escape his life, but because he was religious. He was a true believer, and he was sainted because of that, or at least he was believed to have the opportunity to become sainted because of that. And then, of course, he immediately was kidnapped and corrupted in some way, or felt fallen, very fallen angel kind of vibes with Armand. Whereas both of them being taken out of their monastery, their respective monasteries, by their father, but for two completely different purposes, right? Like where Lestat's dad hated him being, wanted to take him out so that he could control him more. Like he didn't want him to learn because Lestat was illiterate as a child and wanted to learn from the monks how to read and everything like that, so he could be like his mom, and took him out of there, beat him, caged him. He talks about it in season 1. Tried to educate himself among the monks, among the priests there, but his father did not appreciate that at all. Took him out. Him and his brothers, the dad and the brothers, absolutely abused the shit out of him. Whereas the opposite, I don't want to say the opposite, is different, right? Like with Armand, he was studying or about to become a living saint with the monks there, and his father came to take him out, but in a way that was like, well, one, his father actually loved him. His family actually loved him. But there's something... He took him out, but for the purpose of using him to make money from the prince. Because he's like, you're wasting your talents doing this religious art. Instead, draw for the prince and we can make money. So it also felt very exploitative too, in a different way. but it was exploitation in a different way, right? And then, of course, he immediately got trafficked, and then he was really being exploited in a more direct and obvious way, shall we say. And that was the thing that destroyed his art, his ability to do art. Why am I talking about this? Tangent. I feel like I've started talking about the books now. Why did I start talking about this? Oh, yeah. So they're paralleled. I was talking about Memnock. Jesus. So are they going to give the Memnock storyline to Armand instead? And if they are, how are they going to explain the whole eye thing, the devil taking his eye? Or are they just taking the whole, like, he just loses an eye? But we're not going to get the whole theological discussion. Or are we going to get religious psychosis, Armand? I feel like we have to build up his relationship with religion far more this season and next season for us to ultimately get to the point where he has his religious psychosis. Like, we have to really dig in for the next 2 seasons and expand on Armand's relationship with religion if we're going to give him, like, full-on Memnock storyline of him meeting the devil or some spirit calling itself the devil, maybe. Or maybe if they pull TVA forward, maybe he will try to commit suicide. He'll try to Icarus himself. And then in his recovery from his suicide attempt, he starts hallucinating that he starts going through his religious psychosis after that. Maybe they'll mix it up like that. So they'll do something that gets him to the point where he wants to kill himself. He does it, he tries it, and in his delirium afterwards and his recovery, he goes through the Memnock psychosis and dreams up this whole, like, heaven-hell thing. And then we, the audience, will be kind of ambiguous about whether or not it's real or not real, or if it's just a result of Armand's fever dream, etc. Maybe. Interesting. All right. I have been talking for almost 3 hours. I think we need to call it. Like, what else? Did I want to talk about anything else about the beginning? I don't think so. I think that's it. Sorry, I'm looking at the really brief notes that I took. Yeah, I've talked about everything I want to talk about. This is a long-ass video. We're going to wrap it up. All right. I'm excited for the rest of the season. We'll see how it goes. You guys are going to be getting a near 3-hour video. Oh, my God. I'm sorry, you guys. Why do I end up talking so much? I think because I'm not just talking about this episode, but I'm talking about the season as a whole and how the adaptation is going to go. And so it's gone on long. Sorry. All right. Let me know what you guys think. I don't know how the fuck I'm going to cut this down for YouTube. I don't know how I'm going to cut this down for YouTube, y'all. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. If you're watching this far into this video, go on over to Patreon for full length. I may cut out some of this discussion. Who knows? I may separate it out into its own video. Who knows? But feel free to jump on over there to check out the videos that I have. I have all of season 1 and season 2 of Interview with the Vampire. I will soon, I think after this season, I will start putting up the Mayfair Witches and Talamasca. I said, I would finish at least recording it before this season aired, and I have not done that. I'm still recording those. They're slow going. But I am going to finish it. I'm too much of a completionist to not finish those 2 shows, especially with the 3rd season of Mayfair about to release. So I just gotta. So I will eventually release them all on Patreon, and then I don't know when it'll come to YouTube, so look out for that. But I will do my best. We shall see. We shall see. All right. Let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
But you long gone, it don't matter.